Hello, you just got me today. We recently went on our trip to Mount Rushmore. Had a wonderful time. There's so much to see and do out there. We live in Rochester, so we drove across pretty much the whole state of South Dakota, and it's a long, boring drive at night. During the day, you can drive through the Badlands, and the views are amazing. But we got out there, and when we got out to Mount Rushmore, it was just before 5 in the morning, and they open at 5. It's kind of interesting because the parking, it costs I think $11 to park out there, but the parking booths aren't manned until 7. So if you get there before 7, as we did, you gotta park for free. Plus, at 5 in the morning, there's not any crowds. In fact, we were the only ones out there at that time, and it's quite the feeling to be at such a landmark and having it all to yourself. So yeah, definitely recommend if you ever go out there. Just like a lot of these places, the earlier you show up, I think the better it is. The less crowds there are, and I don't know, just you get to enjoy it a little bit more. I think it's a whole different experience. We were out there last year, and it was crowded, and I mean, obviously it's the same place, but it was just a whole different feeling this time. And driving through Custer State Park we were expecting to see a bunch of wildlife, especially bison, and we didn't really see much of anything until the final mile of they have like I don't know what it's called, a wilderness drive or a wilderness loop or something. It's like a 17 or 18 mile loop through the park. And it wasn't until the last mile or so where we just saw hundreds of bison. Hello.
Hi.
Guess who showed up?
Amy.
Yeah, she was out mowing the lawn. While I was in here in the air conditioned room.
Yeah.
But I gotta do this YouTube stuff, and those of you who do this know how much of a pain in the butt it is doing the editing. So I mean, I'm still getting used to it. But anyway, our trip to Rushmore. I don't remember what I all said in the previous video, but we had a good time.
Yeah.
We didn't go to a few things. There's a lot to see there. There's Jewel Cave, Wind Cave. We didn't see those.
We did first start out in Sioux Falls, which for a short little stop on the way there.
Yeah, I think I probably mentioned that.
I don't know what he said because I was mowing the lawn, doing all the dirty work, so.
And we did something that was pretty interesting over there was driving through Custer State Park. Because they have I don't even know what it's called, nature loop or something.
Wildlife loop.
Wildlife loop, where you're supposed to see a bunch of wildlife. It's like, I think 18 miles long. And we didn't really see a whole hell of a lot until the last mile or so, which is when we saw a lot of buffalo or bison. Yeah.
Yes, we did.
Yeah, there's apparently, I don't know, 1,300 head of bison, they figure, in Custer State Park, and the herd we saw must have had at least a quarter of it. They were all over, and they weren't all in the distance either. I mean, they were crossing the road on each side of the road. I'm surprised cars weren't getting bumped into by them, but it was pretty interesting.
Yeah, I mean, right next to your car, right in front of your car. Some people were getting out, which was a little too close for comfort, I think. But there was also a lot of babies. This beginning of July is a great time of year to see a lot of baby bison because they were all over the place.
And something else we went through, the bear something or whatever it's called.
I can't remember, Bear Country.
Yeah, Bear Country USA. And you drive through a little park, and they have just a bunch of wildlife, pretty much intermingling with the vehicles, especially the bear.
Yeah, and they have you keep your windows rolled up the whole time, so.
But nobody does.
Yeah, there was a lot of people that didn't have it. And they also said, in the case of an emergency, honk your horn, and only honk your horn in an emergency. And the person behind us had their child on their lap, and the child kept honking the horn. But I think that they sit up in towers, watchtowers too, and make sure everything's okay and there's no issues. But that was actually pretty cool because I thought there'd only be a few bears, but there was probably 100. I mean, I don't know how many, but they were all over the place.
There were a lot. And there was this one that kept on pacing back and forth in front of the vehicles. It was kind of funny. Just a little, or not a little, but big old bear just shuffling his feet back and forth across the road.
And another thing I don't think we mentioned was we saw wild horses too in Custer.
Yeah, we did.
Or did you mention that already?
No, I didn't mention that. But I don't know how wild they were. They were pretty tame. They were coming up and letting people pet them and stuff.
I mean, I don't think they've ever been broken, and they live out there in the park and stuff like that. So that was kind of cool too.
And I don't know if I mentioned on the Needles Highway we came across a bunch of mountain goats, and they were sparring against each other, a little headbutting and fighting. That was pretty interesting.
It was kind of scary because they kind of went up to a car too and kind of jumped towards it, and then some bicyclists were driving down real quick and ran right next to them, and they scattered, but a couple of them kind of hung around. But that was kind of cool to see.
It was an overall fun trip.
Yeah, I love it up there, and we have a camping spot up there. I don't know what you all mentioned, but Keystone's a cool town. We didn't go to Deadwood this time. Last time we went to Deadwood. The Mammoth site in Hot Springs,
right.
South Dakota, that was wonderful. I thought.
I thought it was pretty cool too. I mean, you see a bunch of mammoth bones.
Yeah, I guess a long time ago they had a big sinkhole filled with water, and the mammoths would go there in the winter because the water was warm and there was some grasses growing around, and they would fall in and they couldn't get back out. So it's inside the buildings covering the whole sinkhole, and I think they found today it's like 62 mammoth bones, and they're not even halfway through everything that they need to dig and find, but it was really, really interesting.
And out of all those, only 3 of them were woolly mammoths, which is, I don't know, I always thought there was only one kind of mammoth, a woolly mammoth, but there's another kind of mammoth, which I don't remember the name of, but it's a lot bigger, and that's primarily what's in that sinkhole.
Yep. And also some ancient bear, too.
Yeah, a flat-nosed or a flat-faced bear.
And they found llamas. I mean, there were some animal bones that they found in there that you don't think of that were in this area, but it was really interesting, and I highly recommend it. And it wasn't very expensive.
No, it was a pretty informative tour. A good time.
Yeah.
Overall, a good trip.
Yep.
And yesterday we got back from another camping trip, which we'll be doing a video on next. We were up at Itasca State Park in northern Minnesota, the headwaters of the Mississippi River. And so that's what you guys can look forward to next time.
Yep. So don't forget to subscribe.
And like.
And we'll see you soon.
And support, and give us some subscribers. We want to get this thing going.
And ask any questions.
Yep.
Get some comments, and we'll answer anything.
We We welcome any feedback, negative or positive. And on our homepage, there's also a link to a couple of blog sites that we're trying out. We don't know how far we're going to go with those, but I don't know. I think they're kind of interesting so far. They sort of mirror each other, so if you read one, the other one's probably going to be pretty much the same, but we just don't know which one we want to go with yet. But check them out. See you.
See you soon. Oh wait.
Hi, we made it to Sioux Falls, South Dakota. Mount Rushmore, and we went through Sioux Falls, saw the beautiful falls in town, and you can't go through South Dakota without seeing the world famous Corn Palace. And here we are, driving down the Needles Highway. It is quite the scenic drive. A lot of rock, I don't know what you call them, rock columns, rock spires, whatever they are, they're pretty cool. And we were gonna do this drive last year when we were here, but it was starting to get dark, so we thought better of it. And after driving through it this time, I think we made the right choice. There were some turns where it'd be a little spooky taking them at night. They were, I don't know, a little spooky during the daytime, actually. But it was a fun drive. It probably took us an hour to do it. And again, this is something that is highly recommended, and I know we'll be driving down it again next time we're over there. Plus, you just don't know what you'll see. We did see some wildlife. We saw some mountain goats, which we got some video of, which you will see in a little bit. We come to the Needles Tunnel, which when you first see it, you think there's no way my car is going to fit through this thing. But we obviously made it. There was, I don't know, maybe a foot clearance on each side. But when you're in it, going through it, when you're looking at it, you feel like you're going to scrape the walls. But we were in a pretty small car and no issues. Again, another little fun thing to do while you're out there. Take it easy though, you don't want to scratch the paint. And here we come up to the mountain goats, doing battle. It was actually pretty cool to see. Amy wanted me to get out and go, well, I did get out of the car and take some video. She wanted me to go closer to them. And normally I would have, but I thought better of it this time. It was cool just to sit there and watch these things. It really was pretty cool watching these guys out in the wild. I thought they were going to go after that red car that went by. One of them might have grazed it. It didn't really look like it. And these bikers, might have been a little freaked out if I was them. They chased everything off. Well, I hope you enjoyed this little video of ours, and if you did, please like it and remember to subscribe, and you will see more fun videos like this. I'm still getting used to this editing stuff, so please bear with me. Hopefully you were able to get some enjoyment out of it, and we will talk to you later. One other thing, keep an eye out for our next video, which will be on Itasca State Park in northern Minnesota, the headwaters of the Mississippi River. So until next time, happy camping.